Hey class, so I'm not here today. Instead, you're going to watch this video on modern Japan. I'll pause before every new slide to give you a chance to hit the pause button, take down the notes that are on there, and then when you've got the notes, click play, see what I say, see if you need to add to your notes. Okay? Alright, so the time frame we're talking about, modern Japan. This is after Admiral Perry comes in and forces Japan to open their borders. Forces them to allow the trading ships in, the whaling boats, all that stuff. And it's going to go all the way through till the end of World War II. There's the date if you want the numbers. This is a pretty short period of Japanese history. The only part shorter is the one they're in right now, contemporary Japan. But a lot, and I mean a lot, happens during this time period. So when I say a lot, we got the Meiji Restoration, modernization of Japan, war with China, war with Russia, World War I, World War II. A lot happens. The Meiji Restoration, or the era here, Japan was ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate. Shogun is gone. The emperor, for the first time in a long time, is no longer a figurehead. He's actually got some power, at least for a little while. No more shogun. Shogun's gone. One of the things that the emperor and the government, they start doing is modernizing Japan. They're going to take a lot of what they see in these European countries, the technology, the ideas, the languages, a lot of the stuff, and bring it into Japan. One of the things that you're going to see is a new constitution. The 17-article constitution we looked at, just it's not quite enough for a modern Japan. To modernize, Japan has to learn just about everything it can from the Europeans. They look at the technology, the language, the way Europeans operate their navy, how they issue orders, everything. Japan's not sure exactly how these countries got their advantages in different areas, so they try and cover everything. They look at weapons. They bring in guns that are much more advanced. If you remember when Admiral Perry showed up, a lot of the Japanese still had these little hand cannons that were practically just muskets. And then their guns were muskets. So their technology wasn't very good. Now they're getting from Americans or anyone else really, they're getting guns that you can put in bullets and just, bang, bang, kind of a thing. Trains, steam power, electricity, industrialized factories that have machines making things. We've got an increase in trade from Japan, both stuff coming in and stuff going out. Japan starts empire building. They start conquering islands all around them and other places to make Japan a colonial power. They take the telegraph. I realize that most of you probably don't know what the telegraph is. Think of it like a telephone, but instead of talking, you're sending messages through beeps. And the person on the other line has to take the beeps and figure out what the words are. So it's like an early telephone. It allows communication to go really fast. Under this modernization, Japan's going to become the first Asian country to become industrialized, except for Russia. Alright, so wars. Long list of wars. We've got, in the previous era, the feudalism, a couple of invasions of Korea. Remember, their goal was to get into China, but didn't exactly happen. In the modern era, that is going to happen. There's going to be the Sino-Japanese War, or the Japan-Qing War. The first one's going to be 1894 to 95. right near 1900. Korea is going to be caught in the middle. Japan's going to take Korea. One of the big outcomes of this is it shows that Japan is now the strong Asian country. They are strong. China, their days are not there anymore, where they are the big, powerful country in Asia. There will be a second war between China and Japan, the second Sino-Japanese War, and this will be during World War II. But Japan won't just go to war with China. They'll also go to war with Russia. And this one is much more important on the world stage. This is the one that gets Europeans to pay attention. Europeans didn't really care much about Japan versus China. But when Japan defeats Russia in a war, takes Russian land, defeats Russian troops, Russian boats, Russian whatever, Europeans are like, whoa. And this happened just about 10 years after the first Sino-Japanese War. Russia has to give up some land to Japan, some land they're still arguing about who it belongs to. And now Japan has put themselves on the world stage saying, we are a power. And some of the countries are starting to take notice of this. All right, World War I. We won't talk about this too much in class, but we will briefly cover it. You should have covered this in U.S. history and world history, so we'll just briefly touch on it. England is fighting against Germany, and it's obviously not just those two countries. It's England and their friends, Germany and their friends, going at it. Japan offers to help England out, but there's a price. Japan wants to keep any island that they fight and take. Seems like a reasonable request. If we're going to lose our soldiers and spend our money taking this island from Germany, we should get to keep it. The island I used to live on, the one I've got the map right by my desk, that's one of the islands that Japan takes from Germany during World War I. So Japan expands. It's an empire. They have a strong navy. They're building up all this stuff. And everything's going good, except that England and its friends are kind of being very dismissive, kind of insulting to Japan. They're ignoring Japan and leaving them out of peace talks, and when everything's being divided up, Japan's not really getting their fair share and stuff like that. So Japan walks away from this feeling a bit insulted. World War II. In world history and U.S. history, you probably learned the dates for World War II being 1939 to 1945. In Asia, World War II starts in 1937 with the Second Sino-Japanese War. One of the things we'll talk about is the emperor losing power again, and we'll have the military taking control again, much like the shoguns in feudal Japan. We're going to look at some of the horrors that happened in China, some of the things the Japanese did to the Chinese. We'll look at the Nanking Massacre as our big example of this. During World War II, Japan is going to join the same side as Germany, the Nazis, and Italy. They're going to add a lot of Asia into Japan and a lot of islands in the Pacific Ocean. They will go all the way to pretty much touching Australia with what they conquer, as far as going south, and then going west, they're going to go all the way up to about India. East, they're going to go all the way into Alaska. So, big expansion. We'll be talking about Bushido and how that comes into play with Japanese soldiers losing battles. We'll look at what happens when Japan has to surrender and the emperor has to tell all the people that he's not divine, that he's just a regular person. and we'll look at Japan under American occupation after the war. So here's a map showing you a bunch of stuff. Some of it for World War I, some of it before. Everything in red, Japan conquers. Japan fights over. Japan tanks. It's a lot. Here, this shows you more of World War II. Like I said, for Japan, World War II starts in 1937. You can see they take a lot of stuff. Everything in green on this map was more or less invaded and taken by Japan during World War II, or slightly before. So you can see Australia down on the bottom. Japan gets pretty close. Right up here, a lot of people forget that Japan invaded and took some of the islands of Alaska. And then all the way in here. Alright, some phrases for you to add to your dictionaries. I want you to be able to ask where something is. We've already done sumimasen, which means excuse me. Then you put the noun, because remember the noun is important. Doko is where. Wa is participle. Just remember to put wa before doko. And then the question, desu ka, arimasu ka? So your full phrase. Sumimasen, whatever. Wa doko desu ka? Or sumimasen, whatever. Wa doko ni arimasu ka? Here's some words that you might be asking for. I've always said that the most important phrase, where's the toilet?Toire. Toire. Hotel. Hoteru. Hoteru. Beach. Sound it out. We've got kai. Sui.
Phantom Bay. Please report to the main office. Phantom Bay.
Sorry. Kai sui yo ku jo. Kai sui yo ku jo. In Japan, they have the big police stations, and then they have these like little miniature police stations called koban. Koban. Trains, you can get just about anywhere on trains. We don't really have quite the same thing in Minnesota. We've added the light rail and things, but we don't have anything equivalent. Eki. Eki. And then you can't really see it because I've got this me in the way. Hospital is byo-in. Byo-in. So try some of these out. Sumimasen, toire wa doko desu ka? Where's the toilet? Sumimasen, byo-in wa doko ni arimasu ka? Sumimasen, koban wa doko desu ka? Try them out. Make sure they're in your notes or in your little dictionaries. Make sure you can say them come quiz time. One of the things you're going to do after this is look at the national anthem. So please click on the link to that. That should be in your resources page. Alright guys, that's it. If you have any questions, you can always email me.